Nelson with Cascade Media Group and What's Up Kansas City. And this is a continuation on our series of Wave of the Future. And what we're attempting to do with this series is highlight our Black achievers that are in a certain range, age, and college-wise, to show our community overall that you can make it. We all come from basically the same background, and today we have Mr. Lee Barnes. What are you, Barnes? Are you the third, fourth, fifth?
The third.
What's third? All right, that's me. I'm the third too.
Yeah.
And he's going to tell a little bit about himself. The ball is in your court, Lee. Tell our audience a little bit about yourself, the long version from kindergarten on up, your story.
Sure, the long version. Okay, cool. So what's up, Kansas City? My name is Lee Barnes, born and raised in Kansas City. Went to Kansas City public schools all the way through. So starting with kindergarten.
Yeah. Let them know where.
Starting with kindergarten, we were at JS Chick, African Centered Chule. Shout out to all those JS Chick alum out there. I went to JS Chick from kindergarten through 5th grade. And honestly, it was a great experience. No complaints there because you're surrounded.
I'm cutting you off one more time and I won't cut you off no more. I meant to tell you,
yes,
name, because I lived in Sheridan Estates, 4218 East 52nd, right around the corner from JS Chick.
Yeah.
And that's where my kids went. I want you to mention the mentors, the teachers, if you can remember their names.
Yeah.
You were going through and saying where you went, but the whole thing is to give some props to the people that help you build your skill set to where you're at now. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So our principal, Audrey Ballard, phenomenal woman who guided so many people in Kansas City to success. Teachers, Jimmy Ballard, Susan Lay, Gwendolyn Hooks, so many great teachers that I had at JS Chick, and a lot of people that I'm still connected to from my time at JS Chick so many years ago. And then I went on to Lincoln Prep, both for middle and high school, had quite a bit of principals there, a lot of turnover in the Kansas City district, as a lot of people know. But a lot of my classmates, I'm still in great touch with, the class of 20.
Was there any teachers specifically during your middle school at Lincoln or in your high school career that made an imprint on you?
Yeah. Talk about them all. Okay, so going back to middle school, I think about Miss Gayla Brown, who I'm still in contact with. I think about Miss Joyce Wynn, who is an English teacher.
And what did you learn? When you say you think of,
oh man,
excuse me, talk about what you took away from working with these individuals.
Yeah, so quite frankly, I mean, growing up and going to school, the things that we're learning in school aren't necessarily of interest. So it's not like, oh, you changed my life by teaching me geometry, but it's really about showing me how to be a good person and how to interact with people, and just being like a good teacher, regardless of whatever topic it was. I'm sure that they did great in teaching their topics too, but also being kind of holistic people and helping us with after school activities, and mentoring us through issues that we were having on campus and things like that were really the types of things that stuck with me more than.
How did you, interrupting you again, because some of my audience don't realize that what Chick was, Afrocentric centered school. How do you feel that affected your overall personality and who you are, and at that age, your value system?
Yeah, so I think back then I didn't recognize it or appreciate it as much because it was like, it's all that I knew. But growing up later into high school, into college, you realize that other Black kids are not getting a foundation in their own history. And especially now where we're dealing with the Black Lives Matter movement, and a lot of things going on in our nation. I'm able to reference things that I learned at JS Chick and leaders that I learned about when I was in third and fourth and fifth grade that other folks had no idea existed. So just having that foundational knowledge and understanding has been key to navigate.
This is brought to you by the Black Archives of Mid-America.
Black History Month, did you have to write a report back in them days?
Yeah, at JS Chick, it wasn't even Black History Month. It was all year.
Right. Well, see, before it became Afrocentric, my son's like 39. He went there, and I remember Black History Month, they have you write something, and the only people that the Black kids could write about was Martin Luther King and Andy Young. That's all they knew.
Yeah.
And I told Carlos, I said, you're not writing about them.
Yeah.
And we I think it was Louis Lattimore, who invented the filament for Edison. Do you know, we went down to the downtown library, couldn't find nothing on the man.
Yeah.
And he's the one who really makes the light bulb go. Had to do a bunch of cross-referencing. And so I was super happy when they turned Chick into an Afrocentric, because that's the community they were serving. And that's the point I'm asking you about how that has helped shape you into where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, even thinking about Halloween at JS Chick, we weren't dressing up as regular Halloween costumes. It was called Ancestors Day, and we dressed up as our ancestors. So you could pick somebody in your family, or you could pick, a figure from the civil rights era or before. But again, just another opportunity to learn about your history in a way that most other elementary school students definitely weren't. And I think, that impacted me immediately going into high school even. I took an African-American history class under Mr. Kevin Conway, who's a great teacher. And we had to write book reports, and there was a huge list of books, and like half of them he called off limits because they were almost like too advanced, or he didn't want people to delve into topics they didn't understand yet. But because I went to JS Chick, I had a lot of the foundational knowledge already, and I was actually able to read some of those books and understand them and do a report on them. So just little things like that all throughout my life kind of show the impact of having the foundation of JS Chick.
And when you say show the impact, now when you get your brethren, your peers that have not had any understanding of their history, how do you feel when you're in a social situation, and especially now Black Lives, all these hot button issues are coming up, and there's so much spin. And if you really are talking to someone that is not knowledgeable and they're going on what they will someone said or what have you, how do you react to those type conversations? Or do you or am I just fabricating something, or is that some real thing?
No, it happens. I mean, it depends on the situation, so that you can always take the time to try to educate them. But for me, a lot of times, I think in this day and age, I think people are willfully ignorant, quite frankly.
Boy,
information.
I just use that phrase, and I think that a lot of things happen willfully.
Yeah, like at this point, there's so much information available, and if you're choosing not to pick up on that in this day and age, I think, especially as an adult, that's something you're choosing to do. So I don't have a lot of patience for those people. Obviously, students are only able to learn what they're being taught either at school or at home. So there's definitely a lot more
What
patience.
you learn at Lincoln in reference to Black history or history and I hate when, and I know that you're an educator, boy, you got a resume that some people pull out their pistol and to have, but how do you feel about not receiving certain things? History, it's not Black history, it's history.
Yeah. Yeah. It's complicated because even at Lincoln, a predominantly Black
That's what I'm
school,
talking about,
yeah,
Lincoln Prep. Then we'll go to your college,
yeah,
what they
yeah.
were teaching you there.
Yeah, so at Lincoln, even there, predominantly Black high school in Kansas City, African American studies was an elective class, so it wasn't mandatory. So not every student took it. We of course had regular history classes that went over American history, and I can't even remember what the specific topics were, to be honest with you. But you know, general American history, and rarely did that incorporate the contributions that African Americans made, unfortunately. So it was really up to the students to either take that African American history class or to have those discussions outside of class.
What was it like? See, because I know your parents,
Yeah.
I wanted to say they fairly intelligent, but your
They're all
mom
right.
is a fantastic writer. From my and your dad, you know, a politician and community service. A lot of people don't really know your dad, how committed he is to the community. You know, they see that facade.
Yeah.
How much has their values rubbed off on you and
Mm.
what you want to do? Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a lot of it, right? So even going to JS Chick and then making the decision for me to go to that school, and me in that high school class walking up to my teacher and being like, actually, like my dad has all of these books, so I can read them and do a book report on them. I think that has molded me tremendously, and the work that they continue to do, I wouldn't say I replicated it, but definitely got big into community service once I was old enough to volunteer myself and to contribute to the community in that way. So that's something I did in Kansas City, something I did at Duke, where I went to college, in Atlanta, where I worked, and something I'll probably continue to do because that's the expectation that they set.
All right. Now let's run this college down. What
Yeah.
was it? And I want some feeling. Don't give me no gosh. when you first put your what size shoe you wear?
You have small feet. I'm little. My dad is only 5'8". So.
Right. All right. When you put your teeny weeny foot on that Duke campus, what was your feeling when you first hit the campus and got your room? Tell the audience what you was feeling, what you was thinking, and is that the first time that you was like set free? Where you know how when you go to college,
yeah, it's different.
talk about it.
So no, it was not my first time. So I think that was kind of one of the big things that influenced me to go to Duke in the first place, is that over in high school, over the summers, I would go to these different like pre-college summer camps.
Which ones? Talk about that, because that's going to help other kids see what they need to be doing.
Yep. So there was one at UMKC that I did that was about a week long. One at Mizzou in Columbia that was about a week long, and then there was one at Duke that was 3 weeks long.
You say pre-college camps. What are they doing in those camps? Tell our audience.
Yep. So they were all kind of specialized. So the UMKC camp was focused on careers in health. So I think it was nursing, pharmacy, and pre-med. And at the time, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was kind of exploring everything. So that camp, you know, introduced you to professors and teachers and professionals in that field to see if it was something that you were interested in. So that was the one at UMKC. The Mizzou program focused on engineering. So my dad is an engineer. So I did the engineering camp for a week on Mizzou's campus. And again, you get to live on campus in the dorms, hear from professors, you work on projects.
What grade was you in?
Ooh, either 9th or 10th grade, probably, when I did that.
Boy, that's why your resume looked like, I try to tell the people, if you doing, when you 10, if you doing what a 15-year-old should be doing, you way ahead of the game.
Yeah, you got to start early. So yeah, those were like freshman and sophomore year of high school. And then before my senior year is when I did the pre-business program at Duke. So lived on Duke's campus for 3 weeks over the summer.
What did you do?
Yeah, so there were classes from professors, corporate visits, so going to the offices of different professionals and just learning about their careers. And again, just meeting people from all across the country that are kind of interested in the same thing that you're doing. So that's the only reason I applied to Duke, really, is because of that program.
How do you feel being part of the diaspora? I don't like really now calling myself African American,
Yeah.
but the more I wake up, I find out who I really am. At 69, that's a damn shame.
Hey.
But I'm saying that's why we talking history. And how do you find that you are treated at a Duke University versus the nurturing effect coming from a Lincoln Prep and being involved in a Black environment, and now you're going to Duke. Talk about that.
Yeah, so it was, I mean, it's different, right? So when you think about Lincoln Prep being predominantly Black high school in Kansas City versus Duke, it's in North Carolina, kids from all over the country, usually fairly wealthy white kids, just a very different culture. I think fortunately for me, some of the things that helped were those different programs that I was in high school. So I was exposed to those types of people and those types of environments. And the other thing, which is surprising to a lot of people, is that Duke actually has a pretty sizable Black community. It's not big by any means, but there is a decent
There's
number.
Enough support there that you felt comfortable.
Absolutely. So there's, students there, but then also like staff and Black cultural centers that kind of help facilitate the Black community on campus when you need to step away from everything else that's going on campus. So for me, Duke wasn't that big of a jump, but it can be if you're not fully prepared for the change.
How do you feel that on a 1 to 10, Duke's racial, was it a comfortable situation there as being
It was okay. So I loved my Duke experience, but if you look specifically at race and how Black students were treated and the history of Duke in Durham, which is a predominantly Black city, it's not great. So you kind of have to look at them through different lenses, but specifically through race.
And I do, because my freshman year, I went to Virginia State, and down in Petersburg, I was an athlete. Half my track team, half of the relay, I went to Virginia State. The other half went to North Carolina Central. So, we were matriculating back and forth. So, and that was like in 69 and 70. That whole culture down there, it's a separate thing, but, and that's why, I was asking you, how did you navigate, and did you feel comfortable? Now, talk about when you found yourself. When did you start finding yourself? In college, or when did you start finding out, you still finding yourself? But talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think college is definitely that time, right? Because there's no one to tell you what to do, to guide you, really. Still in contact with your family and parents, but every day you're making decisions for yourself. No one to tell you to go to class or what classes to take even. So really finding out what interests you, what type of people you want to be around, what type of person you want to be. I think, freshman and sophomore year of college is definitely that time period where you have to start making those choices for yourself and choosing your friends again.
When did you know what your major, what you really, or do you even still have that? Because it can go, the more you learn, the more you might pivot to something else.
Yeah, so I, again, was interested in business, but Duke is a liberal arts school, so there's no business major. So economics was kind of the closest thing to that. So that's really the only reason I picked econ. When I got to Duke, econ was hard. I wanted to change my major, but my parents were not having it. So that's how I graduated with an econ major, to be honest with you. But I mean, now that I have the degree, I'm glad I have the experience and the knowledge, especially in the program that I'm in now is a business program and focused heavily on the kind of same fundamentals.
Talk about the program you're in, And
Yeah.
how did you get into? Tell the audience where you're at school now. What is the school known for, and what you want to pursue by going to that specific school?
Yep. So I am at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. So I'm in Philadelphia, probably about 3 months in now. And it's a business school, one of the best business schools in the world. Glad to be here.
Hey, people, did you hear him? He didn't say in the country. The man said in the
in the world.
world.
Yeah. And has been in the news quite a bit recently because we just hired the first Black woman dean in the history of the Wharton School. So her name is Dr. Erica James. And
How
she's
long do you know any history? Because I didn't get a chance to. How long has the school been in existence? Because what that school is like Harvard
It's
in the
old. Yeah,
business arena.
it's old. It might be the oldest business school or like one of the first business schools. It's been around for a really, really long time, along with Harvard and some of the others.
So your your initial run, is it everything you thought it was going to be, as it relates to the academic challenges and the other challenges that go on with going to school like that? Because I would think uh, the large companies, they deep in looking for HR and perspectives.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so it has met the expectations for sure. Obviously, this year has been different because of COVID-19. So we're fully virtual, taking classes from this spot right here, and not meeting my professors and not necessarily meeting my classmates in a classroom setting. So that's been different. But in terms of access to the network and to the resources, that's definitely been one of the greatest benefits that I've seen thus far. Companies are already reaching out, trying to schedule information sessions and get folks interviewed and get them recruited for next summer's internship class. So that's definitely the kind of the main part of business school, is to secure a job and secure those next steps in the business world.
So exactly what is it that you want to do?
Yeah, so I'm interested in marketing. So kind of on the strategic side of marketing, looking at brand strategy. So we'll likely be at a consumer company after I graduate from Wharton. So think of like a Pepsi or a Coca-Cola or a Procter and Gamble that sells, deodorants and lotions. There's someone behind each of those brands that kind of run the brand and decide what products they want to produce, what stores they're selling them at, how much they cost, and how they want to market and advertise. So I'm really interested in that just because it kind of covers a wide range of skill sets, both creative and strategic. And then from there, we'll see what happens, but probably we'll stay in the marketing realm.
Who do you socialize with?
Yeah, so fortunately, there's a good number of Black students here as well. We have, group chats in our phones that we share events with through the African American MBA Association. And then the school also designates us.
Tell our audience what MBA Association, the acronym, stands for. Everybody's not sophisticated.
Yeah. Yep. So the African American Masters in Business Administration Association is really just a organization here on campus for the Black students. One, socialize and get to know each other, but two, to build networks in terms of professional opportunities. So companies oftentimes look specifically for Black talent, and they come to the African American MBA Association to reach us directly. So it kind of serves those two purposes. So we use that organization for fellowship and to socialize, in addition to, there's so many different clubs here. There's the food club, and they meet up and talk about food. And then there are like athletic clubs, of course. And then the school puts you in different organized groups as well to kind of create different family environments for you to just network with a diverse set of people, because that's really the goal. You come here, there's 900 people in your class. You want to meet as many of them as possible and at least develop decent relationships with a good number of them, so that when you're in the business world down the road, you can leverage those connections for future opportunities.
Those connections are your currency, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people don't understand that.
Yep, absolutely.
Especially us as uh hate using that
People of the
African
diaspora.
American deal, but that's what is mostly accepted.
Yeah. Yeah.
That term. But what is it specifically you want to do? Be a captain of industry? What to run that down, or do you even know right now?
I think it'll change. So I think it is within that marketing space. Like I said, just because it combines creativity and business strategy. So you get to talk about like advertisements and things like that, but you also have to talk about like analyzing consumer data. So kind of combining those two interests, I think marketing really works well for me, especially now when you think about marketing to Black consumers and multicultural consumers. That's something that companies don't do very well right now.
What are the hot? I got Mr. Nelson be all over the damn place with his questions and stuff, interruptions. But what are y'all talk? What are the main issues that you young people are talking about? I'll give you this. Where are your constituents on Donald Trump?
Oh.
Well, it's coming out of your mouth. You know what they're saying.
I don't have great things to say if that's what you're.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, what is the general feeling? Not just that he's a bad president.
Yeah.
What is being said?
Yeah.
Honest, about Trump, the whole situation, America. Do y'all even be talking about the situation in America? I can't believe you not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the conversations are had. I think at this point, they're not even centered on, Donald Trump, but they're really centered on what's next. How do we get past this? And honestly, I think we're looking even past Biden at this point. We're thinking, 10 years down the road, what do we want the government to look like? What do we want society to look like? And how do we kind of start working towards that? I think, Biden is a natural next step, but that's not necessarily where we're focusing.
From my perspective, he's the only step. I don't particularly like that. All these old people that got one foot in the grave and one out. You see him and Trump, they look like, I'm like,
yeah,
man, y'all both need to go sit down somewhere. But so they are talking about that.
Oh, absolutely.
The next step, they just see the man go, get Trump out of there. We can deal with Biden and we can start creating a plan,
right?
A better plan that we really want to get behind, not something that they figure out, something that we construct. Or is that the conversation?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, tell our audience what type of individuals that are having that conversation with you. Like I talked about your resume.
Yeah.
Talk about the intelligence level of the people you're having these quote unquote political conversations with.
Yeah, I mean it runs the gamut. So folks from Kansas City that I went to high school with, folks that I went to Duke with, people that I worked with in Atlanta, and of course, the people that I'm in class with now. So really kind of across all walks of life and all industries, I think it impacts everybody. I think
but I'm saying the age group. What is your and what is that age group? Tell our audience.
Yeah, so I'm 25. So most of my peers that I talk with regularly are probably 23 to 30. So a few years out of college, kind of trying to develop our first steps as adults and kind of, thinking about buying property for the first time and all of the things that our parents did or couldn't do. So we want to do them for the first time and realizing that it's a lot more difficult. So trying to think about a society where those things come easier.
How does your white, I'm using the words that I know how to use, counterparts, and the studies and in these universities and these circles, how do you read them on what your position? Do y'all have these conversations about the real issues because my take is the majority community has all the levels of power. They have everything, and so they have to be a major part of solving this equation.
Yeah.
The main thing is for them to be able to communicate. It's like, the cliche, I got a black friend. Do you even know anybody that's black that you've been to their house, that you can look at
Yeah.
them and see that they're a human being just like you? They raise their families just like you. And how do we, I think your generation wants to fix that.
Yeah. So I think there's definitely a good focus on that, especially from their side, and trying to get to know diverse people. Because one, I think it just brings them more success. I think they're seeing that. That to be successful in the world, you can't, restrict who you're in community with, especially as the world becomes more diverse. You're going to have a black person on your team. You're going to have women on your team.
You have to have gays on your team.
Got to have people from the queer community on your team, right? So you can't restrict who you're willing to be in community with. And I think they're starting to realize that, at least some of the younger white folks who I'm in class with. So they're definitely a lot more open to those conversations. Like I mentioned earlier, my patience doesn't necessarily allow me to contribute to those conversations, but other people are having those conversations with our white classmates.
What are some of the topics that I'm not covering that you think that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, I think one thing that would be helpful for the folks in Kansas City is just kind of thinking about how we want our next generation of kids to come up and what we want them to be learning about and thinking about, and how can we position them to do well, whatever that may mean, and what kind of opportunities we want to provide for them. Because that's kind of the main thing that I think about, is I've been able to do relatively well because of the opportunities that I was provided. So how can we provide those opportunities to more people? And what does that look like?
Yeah, what does that look like?
I don't know.
I've been around a minute, and I feel that until we start really coming together, and personally, I don't think you can teach old dog new tricks. I just don't think. I think you have to almost throw the baby out with the wash water, because it's always going to revert back to what it is because of the mindset. And I don't think that the ones that are committed, they're not just committed to this dollar. They understand that there's more to life, the planet. They take all the considerations that my generation takes, but they choose not to take that materialistic as number one.
Yeah.
Above all.
Yeah.
Your generation understands
definitely
you
still
gotta
a part
have
of
the
it,
money.
but yeah.
But the money is not the God. You can't ruin the planet for profit. Run that down.
And another thing I think about too is kind of my generation's focus on happiness.
Talk to me about that. That over Mr. Nelson's head.
Yeah. So, thinking about jobs, like I think the goal for my parents' generation and generation before them was, getting a good job with good benefits and doing what you could to stay in that role for 30 years and then retiring. For us, that's just not a goal. It'll never be a goal. I know people that change jobs every, 16 months for bigger and better opportunities, or for opportunities that they think they'll like more, to change industries. So it's really very minimal commitment to a job, but more so commitment to yourself and your interests. Now, of course, you have to be strategic with that, because that can lead you down a path you don't want to go down. But if done well, I think you can reach a good level of success by kind of following your own path instead of remaining committed to these jobs and companies.
Do you have any siblings?
I don't.
All right.
Just me.
So big investment in you.
Yeah, I guess they have one shot to get it right. So
Name a couple of people that really influenced you, because we're gonna wrap this up, but
yeah.
I want you to get some props. I know somebody else done put something in your head.
Yeah, so shout out to my parents, of course. We've talked about them a great deal. I would say, biggest influences have come fairly recently. So thinking about mentors at Duke, Sean Palmer, who is now at the University of North Carolina in Wilmington. He runs their Black Culture Center there. So
What did he influence you on? What makes him
yeah,
special on versus everybody else in your life?
yeah. So I think for Sean is really kind of a commitment to excellence within the Black community. So again, thinking about the whiteness of the space that is Duke University and being very authentically Black within that, and what that means. And when he would host an event at the Black Culture Center, bringing in soul food, like very simple things that just reminded you of who you were, and connected you to your people. And he does that in all of the spaces that he's in, and we're still very, very close. So huge influence for me. And I would say another big influence is someone from my previous job. Her name is Winifred Cox, and she was one of the senior managers at the firm that I worked at. But a powerful Black woman who was doing amazing things and who actually gave me an opportunity to advance in my career. Kind of for not for no reason, because I worked on her team, but she definitely didn't have to put me in the position that she did. And I don't think I would be where I am without that. So
You using your currency, bro.
using the currency, that's what it's all about.
In closing, what would you have to say to a young high schooler about success? Transition that to what you would say to a young freshman college student on this road to success.
Yeah, I think I'd probably say similar things. I think one, kind of be willing to define success for yourself. So again, thinking about, is it money that you want? Is it happiness that you want? Do you want to be creative in your job? Do you want to provide for your family? Like all of those different components, think about what's really, really important to you and what your interests are, and then figure out how to make that happen. Because I think the second step is really exploration and figuring out how to make these things happen. Like, yes, you may want that job, but are you actually on the path, or are you going in the complete opposite direction? Because if you're going in the wrong direction, it's not going to help you or anyone else. So really those two things: one, figuring out what you want to do kind of on your own terms, and then two, making sure that you're actually on the path to get where you want to be, not somewhere close to it or somewhere else, but actually thinking about what you want and how to get there.
Hey, Lee, man, it definitely is a pleasure having you on the show, and
Yeah,
I
glad
think
to be
you've
here.
been very informative. I know that your mom and dad are proud of you, and
They better
probably
be.
your family. Well, they proud of you because of you they kid, but you not my kid, and I'm proud of you when I
Thank
look at this damn resume and see someone that looks like me, comes from the same background as me,
Yeah.
excelling in education, in business, and in general. Because
Thank you.
they use these little quaint throwaways, you the future, but you're really the future. The ones like you and in the groups around this nation that look like us, that are planning. Y'all are not sitting on your damn hands. Y'all
No.
are planning
Yeah.
strategically on what that. I loved it. You said we just bypassing Biden. We planning for that next move, the
Yeah, you
real
gotta
next
think
move.
further.
We
Yeah.
we already know we don't have the next up at bat, but we're gonna be coming up at bat in this rotation. And when we come up at bat this next time, we're gonna be ready.
Gonna be ready. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm saying that's what I extracted out of your conversation.
Yeah, and I think
you didn't say it like that, but that's how
that
I
was
seen
it.
it. And
That was,
hopefully my audience get it, that y'all don't want to hear no more of this.
yeah.
Where is the plan, and how is the
Action.
plan going to affect the outcome of the situations that we're in?
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
All right, my brother. As I always say in closing, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
Program is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.